don't go up anymore.
Tonight, survivors...
We're talking about the Franklin Street fire.
It was 40 years ago, but some say they can still hear those screams today. 15 people were killed, most of them women and children. A memorial mass was held today to remember them. News Channel 8's Keith Kuntz was there.
This grainy black and white footage only begins to show the enormity of the pain and anguish of what happened on Franklin Street in New Haven 40 years ago. C. Edward Pratt was a presser at the Berry dress factory that day when a co-worker asked him if he smelled smoke.
I said, no, none of us in my department is smoking, so I looked around and I could see smoke coming through the floor. So I went to the door where we go down the stairway, and that opened the door. I had to shut it fast. It was all full of flames.
Pratt helped some of the workers get out of the building, injuring himself in the process. Tom Connolly was a young New Haven firefighter that chilly day, one of the first to arrive at the scene.
So much fire there, you really couldn't, and it was so far ahead of you, you really couldn't catch up with it.
This morning, an emotional service at St. Michael's Church in New Haven to remember the 15 people who lost their lives in the fire. This is where the dress factory was 40 years ago. Today, it's the back parking lot of a high school. It's hard to imagine what it was like right here, January 24th, 1957. Although 15 died, many others were saved that day. Tom Dabrowski was one of those heroes, saving a group of women stranded on a broken fire escape.
I ran up, started grabbing people down, pulling their clothes off. I put a shirt on one woman, I remember, but the rest I kept running back and forth. I guess in my subconscious mind, I didn't know what was going on. I could hear my cousins yelling, don't go up anymore.
Tom Dabrowski's hands were burned saving those lives, lives that were lost in a fire that's cause is still a mystery, lives that will never be forgotten.
Now stands on the site. At a nearby church today, hundreds of people joined survivors and rescuers for a memorial service. 82-year-old Edward Pretty helped several people escape the burning building. He broke his leg getting out himself.
So I swung out, got on the drain pipe, and tried to shimmy down. But you know how they're connected, broke loose, and I come tumbling down.
88-year-old Angelina Pilon broke her leg when a fire escape collapsed. She recalled a young immigrant who died.
She went back in to get her pay. She got her pay.
Garment District.
News Channel 8's Matt Scott spoke to witnesses and fire crews who were at the scene and gathered today to mark this very somber anniversary.
This is one of your worst memories of New Haven.
Yes, it is. No doubt about it. I think of it every time I go by here.
January 25th, 1957. The headlines on the front page of the New Haven Evening Register said it all. Fatal factory blaze shocked city.
Was the worst disaster in terms of fire, loss of life in the city of New Haven.
50 years later, that horrific distinction still rings true. 15 people dead, dozens of injuries. The fire broke out in the heart of the city's then dwindling garment district. Frank Myjack was working for his brother. That day, he was running errands.
I just had pulled into the yard of Franklin Street, and I could see smoke, but I had no clue where it was. But I heard somebody yell fire. My brother yelled fire. He opened the door out to the hallway, which was an open elevator shaft out there, and it was an inferno.
By the time fire crews arrived, the building was engulfed. People were trapped in the four-story building.
And we were in rescue mode. My brother Walter, who passed away, he rescued a lot of people.
Today, a mass at St. Michael's memorialized the 50th anniversary of the fire. Fire crews and descendants of victims met to reminisce.
They're probably talking about the ones they lost. And I think most of them that I see, and there's a lot of elderly people here, I'm sure they had their relatives, but I see a lot of sort of younger people, I think, that were children of the parents that perished in there.
There are sons of one of the victims, an Italian immigrant who was only working there 5 weeks. There is a nurse who was a volunteer with the American Red Cross.
And while Frank Myjack doesn't like to think about that day, when he does, he focuses on the good.
But there were a lot of heroic people, and I don't remember them, but I know a lot of people did come to help.
People bonded together by one of New Haven's most violent days. In New Haven, Matt Scott, News Channel 8.
Now let's send it over to Ann and Ted for
car right next to the fire escape. I climbed on top, and I had people climbing down on my back, getting them down.
But one fire escape high up on the building didn't release properly, and 8 women were trapped.
All the flames broke through the window, and all the people on the fire escape started to burn.
Can't forget it. You can't forget it because you can see those women screaming, you know.
Firefighters on the scene were helpless.
And we couldn't do a thing about it because you couldn't get to the fire escape.
But 40 years later, they do what they can. You see, it was New Haven firefighters who arranged today's special mass for family and friends of the victims, and New Haven firefighters who helped fill the pews.
What's remarkable for all of us in the fire service when we return here, that the sentiments in the neighborhoods that's still very much alive for the losses that people went through that day 40 years ago. We're confirmed and affirmed in what it is that we chose to do. It was the right thing to do.
In New Haven, Tom Mischuk, Fox 61 News at